What's up, guys? Welcome back to the shop. In today's video we're going to be making a knife from copper Damascus, actual copper Damascus this time. And what I'm doing is interlaying some 1084 with copper layers, and we're going to forge them. We're pretty much interchanging our 15 and 20 for copper, and we're going to be doing the bulk of this process in our oven because that lets us hit very precise numbers. In this case, we want to be forging it at about 1970, and I reached that number from various other different tests I did. 1975 is the melting point of copper, so if I pull it out at 1970, it is sweated enough to be able to braze, and by the time I get to my hydraulic press, it is hot enough to be able to brace together, but not so hot that it squirts molten copper everywhere. So that's how I reached that conclusion. So we're gonna do our second stack now. On our original stack we had 13 layers. We cut it into 3. And then we added 2 additional copper layers in between to be able to get everything to stick together. So we have about 41 layers right now. And now we're going to do our final stack. These are each about 40 layers, and we're adding 2 more, so we're above 120 layers. For now, I think that is the ideal number to be able to get a very good looking Damascus, but also have it not be too fine to where it kind of just blends in together and becomes like a dull orange instead of a nice, very predominant Damascus pattern. And another cool thing, since I'm doing those layers in between to stick everything together, we're going to have some thicker layers of copper, and that's going to almost separate everything. It's going to look cool at the end, trust me. Hey guys, I'd like to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, Anson Belt and Buckle. Anson Belt and Buckle is a family-run business that has reinvented the belt game. I don't know about you guys, but I got tired of wearing belts that just don't fit. Either they're too big or they're too small. With Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't run into that issue thanks to the micro adjustable track system. This system allows you to be able to adjust your belt every quarter of an inch versus traditional belts that only let you adjust every 1 inch, which allows you to get the perfect fit no matter if it's early in the morning when you wake up and you're at your thinnest or right after a very heavy meal. You can always easily adjust. I myself wear these belts every day ever since I got the new Anson belt from Anson Belt and Buckle. This is the only belt I use. Thanks to the micro adjustable tracking system, I always have a perfect fit, whether I'm working here in the shop or I'm doing my day job or I'm out and about on my day off. The belts are made with very high quality materials. I've been using this one day in, day out for about 4 months already, and it has 0 wear and tear. As always, I can always change the belt for whatever occasion, thanks to the fact that the straps and the buckles are sold separately. Therefore, you can always take it apart thanks to this clip-in mechanism in the back. You can always take it apart and put it back together, or use it with a different belt or a different buckle. And because Anson Belt and Buckle sponsored this video, when you click in the link in the description down below or on the QR code right here on the video, and you build the box set, you get an extra belt and an extra buckle for absolutely free. That's 3 belts and 3 buckles that you can mix and match. That's an exclusive deal you won't get anywhere else. So be sure to check out the link in the description down below. Go get your box set and upgrade your belt game today. Thank you very much to Anson Belt and Buckle for sponsoring this video. And let's get back to the build. So with our Damascus blade, now we're gonna go on ahead and stack everything up so we can make our final knife. The reason why we have to do this is because this Damascus, though it has 1084, is not good for cutting anything because of all the copper in it. So we're going to stick it all back together with some copper in between, essentially making a Damascus sand mine. and we're going to use a nice good coarse steel to be able to hold our edge. In this case it's 5160. For the shape of this knife, I really just wanted to use the whole billet as canvas, so I am doing a K-tip chef's knife. Though it does look quite biggish, it is definitely not going to be a cleaver. I'm going to grind it very thin, and it will be perfect for slicing up vegetables, slicing up meat, doing all kinds of very good tasks that you'll essentially would be able to do with a regular chef's knife. The only difference is this guy is going to be a little bit taller than my general chef's knife. Here I had the bright idea to leave a little bit of material and then just forge out a tang, and it didn't quite go the way I had thought. I should have just cut it straight and then forged it thinner, so I ended up just kind of squishing it there. Lessons learned, I guess. Next time I'll definitely do it a little bit different. It was already maxed out at size to fit in my small oven. Once in the future, whenever I get a bigger oven, hopefully something that holds a lot bigger knives, I will do much bigger full-sized knives in this style. I really like the way that the copper Damascus comes out, as well as all the other copper things that I do. They come out very nice, but I am limited by the size of my oven. Therefore, I can't really do anything bigger than a relatively small hidden tang knife. One of the cool things that I like whenever I quench these knives, though, is that the copper just pops out like crazy. Alright guys, so we are out of the temper. It's looking great. Very slight bowing. Very slight. Almost non-existent. If I need to, I'll surface grind it to straighten it back out. The core, well, a little bit of movement, but it's still pretty consistent all the way through, so I'm not worried too much about having any crossover or anything like that. More than anything, it's just fixing that little tiny bit of a warp. But I'm confident once I clean it up, I'll be able to clean that up on the grinder. And other than that, it's looking pretty promising. Definitely plenty of copper in there. So for this knife, I decided to do the bulk of my grinding at the very end whenever it's heat treated. That way I just do everything in one go. And the reason for that is because I was kind of crunching it on time. I wanted to be able to get this guy done quick. And so I decided to just slap a brand new belt and do everything in one go after it was heat treated. Normally it's a lot more work because the steel is harder. But because I slapped on a brand new ceramic belt, it tore through it like butter. And overall, it was very satisfying to be able to grind these knives down and to be able to reveal that pattern. And one of the things I really enjoy about these kinds of knives is that the pattern reveals itself, unlike in a standard Damascus, because the copper is always going to show in that copper color. Alright guys, so the piece has been hand sanded up to 800 grit. It's looking very nice. We're going ahead and start up on our handle. For our handle, we're going to be using this piece of curly maple. It's been stabilized. It's actually really light. We're going to be pairing up with another piece of curly maple. And this guy is actually very heavy, very dense. So we're going to be piecing them up. And this is going to be pretty interesting. I wonder how it comes out since it's a mixture of multiple colors. And it's just a fun style overall. So we're going to go on ahead and mix these two together and get our handle going. So one thing I have to admit is I definitely dropped the ball on this knife. I actually should have just made it all with that heavier material. And I dropped the ball because now I have a relatively light handle for a pretty heavy knife. So the knife ended up being a little forward heavy. Obviously it was going to be relatively heavy because of the size, but I just never crossed my mind to do a slightly heavier handle. That way it would balance it all out. Overall, it still feels very good in the hand. It's just a little bit more forward heavy, which is expected with a knife this size. As always, I'm going to CA glue the two pieces together. Against popular belief, it definitely holds very, very well, very, very fast. And when you use the activator, it dries instantly and it creates a better bond than if you don't use the activator. For this knife, I'm doing my standard straight handle, and I'm going to knock in the corners, basically making a wall handle my style. And I like to refer to this kind of handle because I feel like they're very comfortable. My main use knife that I always use is in this style with a little bit of a taper, and I absolutely love it. So that's what I tend to go towards whenever I make these knives. And so we move to our etching process. I like the reveal on the etch on this one because that dark just looks so well with that copper. And we go into our coffee etch that's just gonna stain those dark bold colors and overall make it look incredibly nice. You could also skip the etching process and it will look good, but I feel like that darkened color just is that cherry on top. So I messed up a little bit on my recording here when I was doing the handle. I paused it to finish filling up the handle with epoxy, and then I put in the tang without realizing that I didn't turn it back on. So here I'm just showing you that it's definitely on there. I don't like to record the whole process in one go because it makes an incredibly long video that takes forever to download. So I like to pause in between just to save some time. Overall, this was an incredibly sharp knife. I'm very happy with the performance and the grind I did on it. And here is a look at the final knife. It is very plain handle, but it also looks very nice because of those just random little color streaks going through it. And I'm very happy with the Damascus pattern. It almost looks like just a whole bunch of fingerprints that are embedded into the knife. So I'm very happy overall with this knife, and it will be for sale on my website in case anybody's interested in picking it up. And as always, thank you to our sponsor, Anson Belt and Buckle. Be sure to go check them out. They help be able to make these videos possible for you guys. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate y'all, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.